Yes. This is Kenji, who's going to probably try to squirm away. Yes, but we'd like you to be in at least the first part of the video. How about chew it on that? It's like, nope, I just want to get away. I'm just going to pet you for a sec. Yes. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's a good deal. All right, well, this is Kenji's roadmap to success. As you can see, he wants to get away, so we're going to let him. We want to be force-free. Oh, here we go. Well, since we take away the restriction now, he's more amicable and want to stay, so maybe we'll get him to lay down here and chew on it. All right, well, this is his roadmap to success. Basically, he's a really well-behaved dog. He's a pretty well-adjusted for a Shiba Inu. Shibas are the most cat-like dog that I know of. And he came up and he approached. He's a little bit aloof, and there's some indications that he gave me that he had a little bit of cortisol in his blood. Sudden movements that were unexpected by him, our bags, taking off our jackets, and some of those things caused him a little bit of discomfort, and so and skittishness. And so we noticed the cortisol, the stress hormone, in a dog's blood because they're jittery. We call it efficiency of movement. So if you notice your dog's jittery like that, remember one of the first things we went over was anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're reinforcing. So if you pet a fearful dog, you make it more fearful, more anxiety, aggression, more aggression. Now, if it's excited, same sort of thing, that's a very common one. Now, if he is fearful, you can lay your hand on him, and that's comforting. And as soon as you start petting, you're going to amplify it. Celebrate. Go ahead and pet him for that and say the command word. We're not to passive training in this video yet, but the dog just did something we want, and so we're going to reward that. We'll talk about that here in a minute. All right, so exercise is really important, and right now, because he doesn't like the collar and the leash, his guardian's been a little bit limited. He can't take him out for walks. He really has to kind of almost force, and he does it in a very gentle way, but to have his nails trimmed. So now the only time the collar goes on or the harness goes on, I'm going to something that almost every dog hates, having their nails trimmed. So that adds an extra negative element to it. So the video above should help you with extinguish this behavior for good. And make sure if you run into roadblocks or things stop working, he starts moving away, you call or text me, because there's a lot of other little variants we can make, and I'm very close to you. So make sure you take advantage of that. All right, so we started off talking about exercise. And so some creative forms of exercise. The doggy stairmaster on the stairs. Make sure you do that with an empty stomach. Come up with a word that means to go down the stairs. Remember, anytime he gets a treat, the treat goes in the mouth first. They hear the command word immediately after. And just the command word, not good sit, just sit. Remember to come up with funny command words whenever possible. So going to the bottom of the stairs, maybe we call that Mexico. Going to the top of the stairs, maybe we call that Canada. Those aren't particularly funny, but you try to come up with other things. If I want my dog to lay down, I say crash. I say grub, chow, feast, and lasagna as my dog's words to eat. So come up with this fun command which can really help. And try to be consistent with the words that you use. We talk a lot about learned relevance in this session. Learned relevance is when a dog learns, and that I would just cross your arms. The dog is climbing up on top of him. So when a dog jumps up on us, that can be a way of claiming us. And what do we usually do when a dog jumps up on us? We reach out and pet him. Now the dog could also be just saying, hey, pet me, give me your attention, but it's still giving you an order. And then you're listening. And you can let him outside since he hasn't been out for 3 hours. Just recognize that. Getting back to exercise. Throwing the treats up and down the stairs. Remember, the first time, max it out with an empty stomach until he's like, you're crazy, not going down anymore. Once we know that maximum number, we want to exercise him 50 to 75% of that maximum number multiple times a day. Dog sleep, probably his about 16, 17 hours a day. So when he's asleep, he's recharging his batteries. And so you're going to need this exercise every 2 to 4 hours typically. If you're having people come over and he's going to be nervous, exercising him before that. Just make sure anytime he gets exercise, it's to be followed by an activity. He has 10 minutes to recover before the activity starts. All right, let me see. Exercising him before you do the CER exercise might not be, in the video above, might not be a bad idea as well. Other forms of exercise we talked about. Chasing a laser might work for him. He doesn't really seem to be too interested, but he had a bully stick at the time. Another one that you can use, fetch. Now for fetch, I guess I forgot to even get to this. We started talking about the fetch. A lot of dogs don't drop, and so we forcibly take things from them, and that teaches them that we're a thief or makes that part of the game. And they think, well, if I don't drop it, you'll chase me around. Well, we don't really want to do that. We just want to drop so we throw it again. So when he has what we call low-value items, which are his toys that he's allowed to have an 8 point in his mouth exclusive, not holding it here, but just in his mouth, as if this is the dog's mouth, I take out a treat and I hold it right here in front of his nose. I don't say a word. He'll try to take it with the object in his mouth and we'll figure out he can't do that. Eventually, he'll drop the item. When he does, don't show any interest in the item. Pop the treat in his mouth, say the word drop, and then walk away. You didn't want the toy in the first place. So what we're teaching the dog is when we tell you to drop, if you drop what you have, we'll give you better stuff than you have and you get your original stuff back. That's a good deal 7 days a week. So if you do it with your low value items, eventually you can get him to do it with high value items because he's just used to doing it. So once you can do that, then you can use that to play fetch with him. I mean, it sounds like the Guardian can play fetch with him a little bit now, but it's a wonderful way to burn energy. Other things you can do is feeding him out of treat dispensing toys like a snuffle mat or the Omega Paw treat ball. And there's other toys that you can get on Amazon and Chewy, or I find the best places to go to get those. Getting him a Kong filled with peanut butter is a nice thing to keep him busy with, but it's a little bit different than feeding him his food, which is a really important activity for dogs. Let's talk about feeding real quick and we'll get back to exercise. Right now, he's kind of a lazy eater. He has a lot of access to food. The Guardian puts the food in. If he doesn't eat it, several hours later, he picks up the bowl and puts it up. Well, if you have limited access to something, it's more precious. If I'm on a diet and I can't eat things, the things I can't eat are more desirable because I'm not allowed to have them. So if the food is out all the time, there's no barrier. So what I want the Guardian to do is start adding structured feeding. Go eat something, 5 bites of something yourself first. Probably not a bully stick, but a piece of carrot, celery, whatever it is. When you get done eating, and you can eat a real meal, that's even better, but you don't have to rearrange your schedule for your dog. So you eat 5 bites of cashews, and then you put the food down and you invite him over to eat. And Kenji, and spend about a minute asking him to come. If he doesn't come over in a minute, pick up the bowl, dump it empty, and put the empty bowl back down. I'm guessing he probably will come to you. When he does, then just wait, and when he takes his first bite, come up with a funny command word, the passive training that Taylor talked to you about. So feast, lasagna, meatball, whatever you want to say. Every time for 4 months he takes his first bite of food, he hears the word meatball. After about 4 months, you can say meatball, and he might do the drooling, the Pavlov's dogs we talked about, or run to the area where he's going to be fed at, because now that's associated with eating. Now, if you call him over, and he comes over and he sniffs it, and he just stands there, you can give him up to 4 minutes to stand there. But he's still standing there for 4 minutes, hasn't eaten any, I wouldn't encourage him for 4 minutes. I would encourage him for about a minute. And, not a minute straight, but come on, eat, we want to make sure that they don't think that they're not supposed to be doing it. But once he starts eating, you say that command word, the first bite, but then at that point, as soon as he walks more than 5 feet away, you pick up the bowl, you dump it empty, and put the empty bowl back down. If he walks up and sniffs it and walks away, as soon as he walks away, pick it up and dump it. He didn't eat anything. Well, he had an opportunity to, and he didn't. So now it's not ethical to not give dogs access to food, but putting a structure on it is fine. And so what we're saying is when I'm giving you food, you eat when I tell you to eat and after I eat, so you get to see that I'm the authority figure. And if you don't want to eat, that's totally fine, man. But the food's not going to wait around. Now, the important thing is to put the empty bowl back on the ground. If you take the whole bowl up, they look at it as you take away their food. My parents' dog did not eat until breakfast of the 4th day, and I feed 3 times a day. So this becomes a test of wills, and Shibas have a lot of willpower. So don't feel bad about it. His weight is fine. Usually, I would be surprised. I would not be at all surprised if it goes 1 or 2 days without him eating. You're given an opportunity to eat twice a day. He's turning his nose up on that. That's on his tab, not on yours. Once he does start eating, make sure that whatever he's eating, if you're feeding him like a half a cup, he's only eating 1/3 of a cup. Well, then only feed him 1/3 a cup. He should clean his plate. Once he's done that consistently for a week, you can add a little bit more if you want to put more weight on him. His weight seems fine. He's very fluffy, but he might be able to put on a little tiny bit of weight, but I think he's just right in the wheelhouse of where he should be. Remember to go to the green spot, use that card, ask them for samples. Make sure you ask them. They won't necessarily volunteer it, but just say, hey, Dave, work with David, and he said Science Diet is not the best food. You guys might have some samples for me. They'll load you up with a bunch of them. Try it with each meal, but I'd probably wait, I would say wait until you get him eating regularly, but the eating Science Diet might be part of the factor. So coming up with a new food might be a factor for it as well. Just keep the wrapper of whatever foods that he does like, and then you can kind of decide what you want to feed him. So basically that's structured feeding. That is the most important activity for dogs, is eating. So having the dog see you eat first, seeing that you have dominion over the food, and seeing that you take the food away, not that you take it away, but the food, as soon as I move away, the food goes away. Well, that makes the dog more inclined to want to eat. Now, he eats breakfast and dinner, and right now his guardian says that if sometimes he doesn't eat dinner, eats dinner but doesn't like eating breakfast as much. What I would say is if you eat breakfast, you get dinner. If you don't eat breakfast, well, at first you're going to offer him every day. Once you get to past this point, I'm going to feed you breakfast. If you eat breakfast, then I'll feed you dinner. If you don't eat breakfast, then I won't feed you dinner in the short term to make him more motivated to eat breakfast the next day. But it's not ethical to withhold food. This is just a very short period of time just to kind of help reestablish a healthy leader-follower dynamic. All right, so getting back to rules, well, one of the rules would be you eat first. Another rule, not to be allowed on the couch. Well, actually, exercise. I'm jumping ahead. The snuffle mat is something that once you get to the point where he will eat the food that you put down for him, at that point, start feeding him out of a snuffle mat for one meal. And you can do maybe snuffle mat or the Omega Paw treat ball for one meal, and the next meal is just out of the bowl. You can switch it around. But there are a lot of treat dispensing toys, and look for some. But don't use a Kong. There's Kong brand, but the normal Kong, all the food's just going to spill out. You want him to get a couple pieces each time he interacts with it. All right, so exercise. When hopefully we can get him up to the point where he's not fearful of a collar and leash, then we can take him for walks. When we're on walks, remember, sniffing burns more energy than walking. So don't have a circuit, just walk towards Dodge or whatever it is, and when he gets to the halfway point, turn around, cross the street, and walk back for fresh sniffs. So eventually, he gets that sniffing. He also sniffs for the snuffle mat and has to use his nose and his dexterity for the Omega Paw treat ball. So these are ways to incorporate a little exercise kind of under the radar with things that he has to do anyways. All right, so next thing we talked about were rules. One of the rules I suggest not being allowed in the furniture, because for dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or social status they have. Did he jump up on the table earlier? Okay, we've had a lot of sessions where the dog jumps up wherever it wants. So we want the dog to see a literal distinction between the two of us. We didn't get a chance to do this, but does he have a name for the dog bed?
No.
So I had to assign a name for that. The way you do that is when he's nice and comfortable, get some treats out, throw a treat on the dog bed. When he licks it up with at least one paw on the dog bed, call it Jamaica, Venice, whatever those are the two names I have my dog beds. You can call it anything you want. So what I usually do is throw 10 treats in a row. So you throw it over, he goes and licks it up, he's got his paw, you say Jamaica. Then you wait for him to vacate, throw it again. After a while, he's like checking out the dog bed. Is there another treat here? And the next way I do it is I leave a treat on the dog bed without him seeing me leave it there. So when he comes in there and he licks it up, I don't point it out. When he licks it up, I say the word. And so, man, this is a really good place to be. I can also lead him there, put him at sit or LAY, put a treat in his mouth and say Jamaica. These are all ways to entice him to want to go there. After a while, he'll go there on his own. When he does, you should reach over and pet him, passive training, or pull out a treat and then treat him after the words and say the word Jamaica. Remember, treat first, command word after. So once you take away the furniture, the dog bed becomes more valuable because there's at least a little bit of status there. So, and I recommend the rules be in place for 90 days minimum or as long as the problem is still going on. So it probably will be longer than that. You can always go down to his level and cuddle with him as much as you want. We have hardwood floors, but maybe, get a couple pillows and whatever and make a little pillow for it and you lay on the floor and watch a movie with him and snuggle as much as you want. He just can't come up to your level after that fact. So we have a distinction. Other rules, you have to sit before I let you in or out of the door. Go to the door, tell him to sit once. He has 3 seconds to comply. If he doesn't comply, I walk away and sit down. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. So walk away. You don't want to go outside. He does. Well, and then I can wait 1 minute, then go back to the door and command him again to sit. If he doesn't sit, I walk away and sit down for 2 minutes. Next time I sit down for 4 minutes, 8 minutes, and so on. Eventually, when you go and tell him to sit, he sits. As soon as that butt hits the ground, fly that door open. So after a while, he's like, sitting at the door causes the door to open. The human comes to open the door for me. Exactly. That's what we want him to do. At first do it with one direction, but eventually do it with both directions. Other rules, you have to, can't be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Shouldn't be allowed around on the carpet here when the human is eating in this position. And there's other rules that you can look at incorporating. You have to sit before I put the collar on you once he's past his fear for that. You have to sit before I put the food down. You have to sit before I let you out of the kennel. And the kennel exercise, remember, go to the kennel door and just stand there. Don't tell him to do anything, just wait. And as soon as he sits down, reach down and open the door right away. And after a while, he'll start sitting as soon as you approach because that's what causes the door to open. And if you want to build on that, let us know. We can either come back or share a video, show you how to teach him to stay in the kennel with the door wide open. It's a wonderful way to practice and develop some self-control on a regular day-to-day routine. Same thing with feeding. Keeping the dog off the furniture, off the carpet when you're feeding. My whole method is really designed on things that we're going to do on a regular daily basis. So you're not actually training your dog. You're always training your dog. You're just never even thinking about it if you get in the habit of it. That's why we talk about petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if the dog comes up and jumps up on you or paws at you or barks for attention, he's telling you what to do. Remember, leaders tell, followers ask. So once he comes up and nudges you, give him a counter order, tell him to sit. If he sits within 3 seconds, reach under his chin and pet him and say sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, show him that you got other things to do. Playing hard to get, remember, works great for dating and works great for dogs. So if you didn't, I wanted to play with you, buddy, but you couldn't be bothered to do the smallest thing you do as a dog and sit. So I went back to watching TV. After a while, that absence will cause him to want that attention. And what will happen is the dog will start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention once he puts it all together. When he does that, make sure you reach under, pet him under his chin whenever possible. Try to avoid reaching over his head. Say sit and only sit, not good sit, not Kenji sit, just sit. And then you pet him as much or as little as you want. If he's already sitting here, ask him to come and sit over here or ask him to lay down. I would not recommend practicing the shake anymore because if you like this, you must really like it when I jump up on you, is what most dogs think. I'm pretty sure he thinks that way as well, but that can be a way of claiming us. It can also be a way of saying, I want you to pay me and give me attention, but in either case, it's not a follower's mindset, it's a leader's mindset. I want him to ask versus tell. So remember when you have your house guest or anybody else that's here, remind them of the word paycheck. So if you come in the room and you see that I'm petting Kenji and Kenji's standing, if you please help me out and say paycheck to me. Paycheck means I see you're petting the dog while it's standing up. I suspect you may have forgotten to pet with a purpose. Even if you did it right, you stop petting, tell Kenji to sit. When he sits, grab him on his chin and say sit. Say, actually, I asked him to sit before he came in. When he flushed the toilet, he stood up, but I continued petting. Thank you for reminding me. So it's a nice, gentle way to remind you. And even if you want to pet the dog, you should still tell him to sit. But keep an eye out for those prepays because he will start doing that he seems pretty smart, so he'll probably start doing that pretty quickly. Now, passive training is kind of, the prepay is a little bit on the road to passive training. Passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior that you want voluntarily without any influence from you whatsoever. The Guardian mentioned that the word come has lost a little bit of its meaning. That's why you don't want to repeat a word over and over. We want to only use the word in context. I actually say the word twice when I give the dog a command. If he was here, I would say, Kenji, sit. And when he sits, I would pet him on his chin and say the word sit again. So during the command stage, I'm telling him what to do. If he complies, then I pay and reward him and label why I'm paying or rewarding him to make it easy for him to connect all those dots. And it takes a lot of repetition, but eventually he'll figure this out and he'll start sitting, gets my attention. Coming to them gets their attention. Laying down gets their attention. Go to the dog bed, gets my attention, gets their attention. So most of us train our dogs do exactly the opposite of what we want. When they come to us, we ignore it. They sit in front of us, we ignore it. But as soon as they start chewing on our furniture, we're all over them. Good attention and bad attention for dogs is almost the same thing, not exact. And so for dogs, and that's an important point, anything your dog is doing when you pet is what you're reinforcing. But anything your dog does in your presence that you don't specifically say no, you're giving your seal of approval. So essentially, not saying no is almost akin to saying yes. So make sure that you're aware of that, and if he does something you don't like, that you make sure you're on it right away. Don't be like, oh, again, come on, man, you missed that 3-second window. Burn the energy for the next 3 months to do it. After a while, the dog will be like, man, he's got a new religion, and the dog will stop doing those sort of things. All right, so let me see. Passive training is we use the watchword of celebrate because what we're doing is we're celebrating the things the dog does that we like. So if somebody else is here and they see the dog walked up, or you're here, maybe your mom comes to visit, and the dog walks up to your mom, and you say, Mom, celebrate. And mom should say, what am I celebrating? You missed the 3-second window. So you say celebrate. Mom looks at the dog and just starts petting and says, come, if he's standing there. If he's sitting, pet him and say sit. If he's laying down, pretty obvious. When he lays down and does the Frogger thing, pet him and say Frogger. When he lays on his back, call it, Jamaica. That's a pretty relaxed, Zen, Yoga, Buddha. Come up with funny names. Both of you are smiling. That's the whole point. We want those words that are going to make people smile, and that motivates the dog for the rest of his life. Also, these, don't be afraid to go to the green spot. Like I said, I talked to you about going there and getting samples of food. But these are the odor-free bully sticks. These are bully bites, which are probably appropriate size for him. They're a little bit cheaper. Now, these are more expensive. You can get these cheaper online. These are odor-free. That's why they're more expensive, and I promise you your nose will thank you later. But go and get him in the green spot. So if you do ever have to take something away from him, you get him to drop something like underwear or shoe or something he's not allowed to have, we need to trade and give him some equal or greater value if we do take the item away. Also, when guests come over, if guests come over and they have a bunch of treats and they have a bully stick, oh, these people are amazing. I should go make friends with them. So we like using this. This is from PetSafe. This is a mini treat pouch. I like it because it's got a little metal thing. I can open it, and it's got a clip so I can hang it on my leggings or wherever I want. But I can keep it open, and then the dog comes over and starts sniffing. I can close it real quick. No treats fall out. It's got another pouch here where you can put your clicker or poop bags or whatever else you want. But if you have a guest come over and you give them one of these and it's full of the high value chicken liver treats and has a bully stick in it, well now, going and approaching guests and new people, that's going to be rewarded multiple times. Just make sure you tell your guests, hey, I'm going to give you some treats to give to Kenji, but you have to make him earn it. So he knows how to sit, he knows lay down, he knows Frogger. Tell him all your commands. Just like little kids that come over, we're going to do a show for you. And it's the worst show ever usually. But for dogs, they sure like it when I do this and this. And when the guests come over, all these good things happen. And then eventually the guest gives them the bully stick. And again, another good thing happens. Remember when you're doing the exercise above in the video, the CER, that you're going slow. I think we did talk about that, so I'm sure you're aware of that. But make sure you're going slow, and remember it's step by step. And we like to do in this sort of thing something called 5 for 5. 5 for 5 means that you hold it out and he touches his nose, or he looks at it 5 times in a row before you go to the next step, asking for the next criteria. So the first stage is going to be just looking at it. You're already there. Second stage is you're going to start oscillating it like this way, so eventually he sees the full oval, and then eventually he's touching his nose to it. So get to the point where you have the full oval and he's leaning forwards and touching it before you start putting your hand through it. And remember to let me know if you have any questions on that stuff, because it's pretty normal to need to make little adjustments, and I'm, like I said, close enough to come by. If you do have a neighbor or a friend that has a dog about his size, use the blue collar that I use instead of your red collar. Give it to one of your buddy's buddy, and let his dog wear it for a day, then bring it back. That smell alone is a good attractor. It should help quite a bit. Now, we covered a lot in this session. I didn't cover it all here. If you have any questions and stuff we went over, please call me, preferably text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. If you need help, I am here for you, but I can only do that if you let me know. So I'll call you a couple days to follow up, but please keep my number and your phone and let me know anytime you have any questions or problems. I'm here for you if you let me know you need help. Well, this is where Kenji was, and this is where Kenji's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.